I sat at the dining table and watched the food go cold, the way my heart had already gone cold. It was my birthday. It was also Horace's birthday, Christiana's close male friend, the one she always called family. I opened WeChat without thinking, thumb moving on its own, and clicked into Horace's moments. A brand new post sat at the top. Grateful for having you by my side every year on my birthday. Let's promise to celebrate every birthday together from now on. Under the words was a photo, 2 hands making a heart shape in front of a cake. One of the hands was Christiana's. I could tell instantly. She was wearing the necklace I had given her a week earlier. My chest felt hollow, as if something had been scooped out cleanly. I stared at that picture for a long time, long enough for the screen to dim. Then I tapped a like. I put the phone down, stood up, and dumped every dish Christiana liked into the trash. The clatter of plates against the bin was loud in the quiet apartment, but it didn't make me feel anything. I grabbed my coat and left. At a restaurant across town, I ordered the food I enjoyed, the kind Christiana never wanted because it was too plain, too oily, not spicy enough. I ate slowly. I didn't rush. I didn't check my phone every 2 minutes to see if she'd called. I let the night move at its own pace. From now on, I told myself, I'm going to make sure every birthday is for me. Halfway through my meal, Christiana called. Her voice was a little anxious, like someone testing ice to see if it would hold. Claude, you saw Horace's post, didn't you? I saw it. I'll come back after celebrating his birthday. Next year I'll spend it with you, she said quickly, almost rehearsed. Be mature, don't throw a tantrum, okay? In the past those words would have detonated something in me. I would have started yelling, demanding, asking how she could do this on my birthday of all days. I might have stormed out into the night to find her, or called her 10 times in a row until she picked up. I might have begged her to come home. Not anymore. All right, I said calmly. The line went quiet for a beat, as if she hadn't expected that response. Then she muttered something soft and hung up. The next morning, a little after 7 a.m., my phone rang. It stopped after 3 rings. I picked it up and saw her name. Christiana used to be too lazy to unlock the door with her key, so she always did this. 3 rings, then hang up. A signal. A command. No matter what I was doing, sleeping, showering, on a call, I would jump up and run to open the door for her. But not today. I tossed the phone onto the pillow and pulled the blanket over my head. The spare key was under the shoe rack by the door. She knew that. She'd always known that. If she hated using it, that was her problem. I'd stayed up until 3 a.m. packing last night. My head was heavy, my eyes burning. The phone rang again, and again, and again. I didn't even bother to look. I don't know how much time passed before I heard the front door open. A loud bang followed, the door slamming into the wall. Then my bedroom door flew open hard enough to rattle the hinges. Christiana's voice filled the room, sharp and furious. Claude, why didn't you open the door for me? I called you so many times. You know I hate using the key to open the door. I blinked awake and looked at her. No sadness. No anger. Just a blank, tired calm. I was too tired to hear it. She opened her mouth to argue, but in the end she swallowed it and changed targets. I'm hungry. Hurry up and make me some porridge. I didn't sleep all night and I need to eat something before catching up on rest. Before, I would have already been halfway to the kitchen. I would have asked if she wanted millet or rice porridge, whether she wanted pickles on the side, whether her throat hurt from staying up. Now I just said, I'm tired too. Go buy yourself breakfast downstairs. Her eyes flashed. She was furious, but she tried to hold it in, the way someone holds a lid over boiling water. Are you still upset about me not being there for your birthday yesterday? No. You're overthinking it. She didn't believe me. She never believed calm when she expected a storm. Horace is like a brother to me, she said, voice rising. His parents passed away early. If I don't celebrate his birthday with him, who will? Don't be so petty. If you keep acting like this, I'll really get mad. You're right, I replied evenly. You should be there for him. I'm not upset. Unable to fall back asleep, I got up and went to the bathroom. As I walked past her, she caught my wrist and pulled something from her pocket, a red string bracelet with a cheap metal charm dangling off it. "Here. Stop being mad. This is your birthday gift," she said, trying to sound casual. "It's your zodiac year, so I remembered to get this for you." I stared at it for a second. The red string looked thin, the charm looked like it had come from a discount stall. I couldn't stop myself from giving a short laugh, not at her, but at my own stupidity. I had thought her frugal living these past months meant she was saving for something meaningful for me. I had been quietly excited, like a fool, imagining she'd surprise me for once. Turns out I'd been deluding myself. A few days ago my mom had sent me a watch. It sat heavy and solid on my wrist now. I lifted my arm slightly. "Thanks, but I already have a watch. It's inconvenient to wear this. You keep it for yourself." The air around her changed instantly. "You say you're not mad, but now you're rejecting my gift," she snapped. "You used to be so happy with whatever I gave you. Now you're being picky." Christiana didn't earn much. Her gifts were always inexpensive, sometimes just a few dollars, sometimes nothing at all. I had never minded. Every year on her birthday I went out of my way to prepare something special. Just a week ago I'd given her a gold necklace. But I was tired. So tired I didn't even have the energy to argue about the obvious anymore. I took the red string and slipped it into my pocket. "Thank you." I changed clothes, grabbed my keys, and opened the door to leave. "Where are you going?" she called after me, suddenly urgent. "To play basketball with friends." Her face tightened like she couldn't believe I was walking out without her permission. Ever since we'd gotten together, all my free time belonged to her. Shopping with her, entertaining her, driving her places, cooking for her, cleaning for her. My life outside work had shrunk until it fit entirely around her. Not anymore. From now on, I'll live for myself. The basketball game was good, the kind of good that makes your lungs burn and your skin hum. Afterward we sat on the benches, sweating through our shirts, drinking water. One of my friends elbowed me, half teasing. "We thought you ditched us for good after getting a girlfriend. We were about to stop inviting you altogether." A heat of shame rose in my throat. "Sorry guys," I said quickly. "That won't happen again. Call me any time there's something going on." He grinned. "Now that's more like it. Come on, let's hit the internet cafe for a few games." We went, we yelled over keyboards like we were 19 again, we laughed until my sides hurt. I didn't look at my phone once. By the time I got home, it was close to midnight. The bedroom light was on. When I pushed the door open, Christiana was sitting on the bed, frowning like a storm cloud that had been waiting to break. "Claude, why are you so late?" she complained the moment she saw me. "I had to order takeout for both lunch and dinner. It was awful." I opened the wardrobe and pulled out clean clothes. "I ate out at a restaurant today, too. The food was pretty good. Just as good as home cooking." Her eyes widened, like I'd confessed to a crime. "You used to say you'd cook for me every day so I wouldn't have to eat takeout because it wasn't clean." "I was wrong," I said. "In this world, if you can't cook, you have to get used to takeout." Anger flickered across her face. "You still say you're not mad? You didn't call or text me the whole day and didn't come home to cook for me." "I'm not mad," I replied flatly. "I was just out with friends. My phone died, so I didn't call." She stared at me as if trying to find the old Claude behind my eyes, the one who panicked at her silence, the one who begged to be forgiven. She didn't find him. She threw the blanket off, stood up, and grabbed my arm. Her voice sharpened into that familiar blade. "Can't you just be more open-minded? I've already told you that Horace and I are just like siblings. What's your problem, Claude? My patience has its limits." I pulled my hand free. "I'm really not upset. I'm just tired. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." With that, I walked past her into the bathroom. She shouted after me, words spilling hot and fast, but I didn't answer. I shut the door, turned on the shower, let the water drown her out. That night, for the first time in a long while, I slept soundly. Christiana moved around a lot in her sleep. When we slept together, she kicked the covers off again and again. I used to wake up half-conscious just to pull them back over her shoulders. I'd tuck her in so gently she never noticed. But she wasn't beside me now. The guest room was quiet, still mine. The next morning she was sitting in the living room, arms crossed, face dark. She was waiting for me to apologize. In the past, whenever she was upset, I'd grovel for forgiveness even when I hadn't done anything wrong. She would then list demands I had to meet before she forgave me, small humiliations dressed up as conditions. It had gone on for years. I was tired of it. I ignored her, got ready, and left the house. I had something important to do. At work, I submitted my resignation. My manager looked stunned. "Claude, what happened? Is this about salary? We can talk." "It's not that," I said. "I've decided." He tried to persuade me to stay, offered promotions, asked for a week to think. But I was firm. The decision had already settled inside me like a stone. I had originally taken this job to be near Christiana, to look after her. That reason no longer existed. Last night I'd video called my parents and told them I planned to quit and move back home. My mother had cried right there on the screen, shoulders shaking with joy. My father's health had been declining. The small grocery store we ran back home was becoming too much for him alone. They needed me. When I said, back home, it wasn't some remote village. It was a coastal city, small but bustling, a third-tier city with salt in its air and a rhythm I'd grown up with. Christiana was from the northern province and loved spicy food. She'd always refused to visit my hometown. She said she couldn't get used to the cuisine. That was why I'd left my parents to come here in the first place. That evening I invited my friends out for dinner and told them my plans. They agreed it was the right decision. After a few rounds of drinks, someone asked, "What about Christiana? Is she willing to move back with you?" I went quiet. Then I let out a bitter laugh. "No. I think we'll break up." I'd once believed I could build a home here with Christiana, and eventually bring my parents to live with us. But that home was already gone. I was returning to the one place I'd always be welcome, my parents' home. When I got back that night, the apartment smelled faintly of perfume and something sweet. Christiana was standing in a white dress, hair down her back, face perfectly made up. She was holding her phone, video chatting with Horace. His voice came through the speaker, loud and clear. "Christiana, you're so gorgeous. Even in a simple white dress you look like an angel." She giggled, covering her face playfully. "Really? You're still as sweet as ever." I stood there silently. That simple white dress wasn't simple at all. I'd bought it for her with a month's worth of salary. When she turned and saw me, her smile vanished like it had never existed. She turned back to the phone. "I'll talk to you later. I'm heading out now. Grab something to eat while you wait for me." She could smile and joke with Horace, warm and easy. But she couldn't spare me a single smile. She glanced at me with disdain, walked past me, put on her shoes, and left. I knew what was coming, the silent treatment. Through the years, she'd punished me like this countless times because of Horace. Every time, I'd panic and do everything I could to win her back. Not this time. I carried the groceries I'd bought into the kitchen and made myself a late-night snack. I'd drunk too much earlier and barely eaten. I was hungry. In the following days, I stayed busy. Work handovers, paperwork, packing boxes. My belongings in the apartment dwindled, one drawer at a time, one shelf at a time. Christiana didn't notice. Today she went out to meet Horace again. I sat at the dining table, scrolling through my phone while I ate. Horace had just posted another WeChat moment. "Whenever I feel lonely, you're always there for me. I'm so grateful." The picture showed Christiana and Horace leaning their heads together, flashing peace signs at the camera. Her friends filled the comments with admiration, praising their bond. For years they believed Christiana and Horace were better suited for each other. They loved the childhood best friends trope. In their eyes, I was the intruder. Looking at the post, I suddenly felt like they weren't wrong. They did look like a couple. Whenever I gently asked Christiana to keep some distance so people wouldn't misunderstand, her friends sneered at me, said I was controlling, said I was suffocating her social life. Christiana never defended me. She joined them and told me to stop restricting her and give her freedom. On that post, Christiana had commented, "And you're always there for me too." I exited WeChat calmly, washed my plate, and wiped the table down. Outside, thunder rumbled. A storm was brewing. I stepped onto the balcony to bring in the clothes. Raindrops as big as beans smacked the windows. In the past, rainy days sent me into a frenzy. I'd call her repeatedly, "Where are you? Are you getting wet? I'll bring you an umbrella. I can meet you." I couldn't bear the thought of her getting even a little damp. But she and her friends mocked me for acting like a nagging mother, ruining their fun, worrying too much. This time I took a shower early, lay on my bed, and scrolled through short videos until I fell asleep. A loud slam woke me. My bedroom door had been pushed open so hard it rebounded off the wall. Christiana stood there, dripping rain, furious. "Claude, it's pouring rain outside and your girlfriend hasn't come home yet. You're not worried at all?" If it were my friends' boyfriends, they'd be blowing up their phones, asking where they were, going to pick them up with an umbrella. And you? I sat up, blinking. I was honestly taken aback. I didn't understand why she was angry. I remembered a similar rainy evening not long ago. She'd been out with Horace. I'd called her several times to ask where she was so I could pick her up. She'd exploded at me, said Horace would bring her home, accused me of using rain as an excuse to control her and make her come home earlier. She'd said my jealousy was suffocating her. Now that I was giving her that freedom, she was angry I wasn't chasing her. I truly couldn't understand what she wanted from me. I replied calmly, "You're with Horace. I have nothing to worry about. You two can stay out as late as you want. He'll bring you home safely." Her eyes widened. She looked at me like she'd just heard a stranger speak my voice. Then, as if remembering a script, she added, "Today is the anniversary of Horace's mother's death. He's feeling really down, and as a friend I couldn't leave him alone. Don't overthink it." I nodded. "I get it. On a day like this, he needs company." My reasonableness seemed to stun her. She searched my face for anger and found none. She softened suddenly, voice turning almost sweet. "Claude, I bought a new nightgown. It's black lace. Why don't you take a look and see if it suits me?" I stared at her, surprised. This was the closest she ever got to apologizing. In the past, she always waited until I begged before she forgave me. I pretended not to catch the meaning behind her words. "There's no need," I said. "If you like it, that's all that matters. Go back to your room and get some sleep." She froze like I'd slapped her. Then she stormed off and slammed the door hard enough to shake the frame. I got out of bed, closed my door quietly, and went back to sleep. I slept well. The next morning, my friend Lucas called. "Dinner tonight?" he asked. "I just got back from a business trip. Since you're going back to your hometown, we should meet up one last time. Who knows when we'll get another chance." A pang ran through me. "Okay," I said. Just before he hung up, he added, "By the way, bring Christiana along. I won't call her again." Lucas wasn't just my friend, he was hers too. It was through him that we'd met. But with him saying that, I knew my leaving couldn't stay hidden. I still had things to settle. I didn't want a mess. After the call, I saw Christiana coming out of her room. I hesitated, then said, "Lucas wants us to join him for dinner tonight." She looked like she was about to answer when her phone rang. The moment she saw the caller, her face shifted. "Horace," she said softly into the phone. "Don't worry. You won't lose it. I'll come right over and help you look." She hung up and was already heading for the door. "Claude, Horace needs my help with something urgent. You go ahead and have dinner with Lucas. I won't be joining you. Just let him know." I didn't argue. That evening at a bustling food stall, Lucas and I had just clinked our glasses when I saw Christiana walk in, with Horace right behind her. For a moment our eyes locked. She looked surprised, awkward. Horace, on the other hand, wore a challenging grin. Christiana approached and forced a laugh. "What a coincidence. You're here too." Horace pretended to apologize smoothly. Christiana saw I was hungry and suggested bringing me here. "I hope we didn't interrupt you guys." Lucas seemed to have forgotten she'd refused to come. He was already waving them over, calling the waiter for more dishes. Christiana moved like she meant to sit next to me. I stood up and slid into the seat beside Lucas instead, leaving the seats across from me for her and Horace. Her friends had been right. She and Horace really did fit together. I decided not to get in the way of their chemistry. Christiana's face tightened with nervousness. Several times she opened her mouth like she wanted to explain, but she got interrupted every time, by Lucas, by Horace, by the noise of the stall. I kept chatting with Lucas. My phone kept lighting up on the table, WeChat pinging endlessly. I didn't look. During a lull, I finally picked it up. Messages from her flooded the screen. Claude, don't overthink it. After helping Horace find his stuff, he suddenly wanted to eat at this food stall, so I brought him here. I didn't know you were here. If you don't like this, I won't do it again. After dinner, let's go home together, okay? I lowered my head and replied, no need. You and Horace can leave after dinner. I want to chat with Lucas a bit longer. I set my phone down again and didn't read the next messages that came in. A few drinks later, Lucas was drunk. He put an arm around me, eyes red. Why are you suddenly going back to your hometown? You're my best friend here. If you leave, I won't have anyone to drink with. Something heavy cracked inside my chest. Tears welled up fast. My parents are getting older, I said, voice roughening. Their health isn't great. I need to be with them. I paused, then added, your company is expanding along the coast, right? When you're on a business trip there, I'll treat you to drinks. Lucas didn't say anything. He just raised his glass and toasted me again. Across the table, Christiana had gone still. Her eyes widened as she stared at me. She turned to Lucas, disbelief trembling in her voice. Lucas, what did you just say? Who's going back to their hometown? Lucas blinked, slow and drunk. Claude's going back. Didn't you know? I invited you both tonight as a farewell for him. Christiana shot to her feet and pulled me into a corner. I leaned against the wall and met her gaze calmly. Her eyes were red, tears stacked on the edge of falling. When did you decide to go back? She asked, voice shaking. Why didn't you talk to me about it? I lowered my head, fists clenched, forcing myself not to wipe her tears the way I'd done 1,000 times before. I decided when I was video calling my parents on my birthday, I said quietly. You were out celebrating with Horace and didn't come back all night, so I didn't disturb you. Panic flickered across her face like a match in wind. She stepped forward, grabbed my hand. No matter the reason, I'm your girlfriend. You should have told me first. About your decision. I stared at her, surprised. I had always told her everything the moment I decided something. She'd always been impatient, telling me, you're a grown man. Stop being indecisive. Why do you need to ask me about everything? I'm not your mom. Now she wanted to be consulted? She took a breath, then asked cautiously, how long are you planning to stay there? I hesitated. Then I decided to keep it from her, for now. A few months at first. A few months. She looked stunned. Why so long? I didn't answer. She sighed, gave up waiting, and looked at me with a hopeful expression. Let's leave together later, okay? I almost refused on instinct. But before I could, Horace stumbled over, reeking of alcohol. He grabbed Christiana's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Christiana, what are you doing over here? After dinner, come with me to buy some bedding. She glanced at me guiltily and tried to pull her hand back, but Horace didn't let go. She explained carefully, we grew up together. It's just the way we are, like siblings. There's nothing else to it. I nodded. I get it. Horace shook her hand again, leaning into her space. I had a couple extra drinks. My head's spinning. Come with me to get the bedding. I threw up last night and made the bed dirty. If I don't change it, I'll have nowhere to sleep tonight. Christiana looked helpless. Stop shaking my hand. I'll go with you. She had once told me she hated people who drank. Back then, if I so much as smelled like alcohol, she wouldn't let me near her. She definitely wouldn't have helped me change bedsheets if I'd thrown up. But with Horace, she didn't mind. She turned to me. Claude, you and Lucas keep chatting. I'll go with him to buy the bedding and change it. I'll come right back to take you home. I stepped back, indifferent. It's fine. He needs you more than I do. I'll just take a cab home later. She reached for my arm. I dodged and walked back to my seat. I helped Lucas into a cab, arranged another for myself. Just before getting in, Lucas, drunk but briefly lucid, slapped my shoulder. Christiana's been going too far. Her relationship with Horace must have hurt you, huh? Sorry, brother. I shouldn't have introduced you to. My throat tightened. Tears slipped out before I could stop them. I turned my head quickly to hide it. All these years I'd watched her leave me again and again for Horace. I thought I was used to it. Lucas's words shattered the shell I'd built. Turns out I was still in pain. I forced a smile at him. It's not your fault. He sighed. It's not yours either. Try to move on. I nodded, watched his car disappear down the street. Like my past with Christiana. When I got home, Christiana called. Claude, Horace isn't feeling well tonight, so I won't be coming back. I need to stay and take care of him. This was the first time she'd ever informed me of not coming home. In the past, if I asked who she was with or when she'd be back, she'd explode and accuse me of controlling her. This time I didn't ask anything. Okay. She kept explaining anyway. His stomach's not good. If I don't take care of him, he might end up in the hospital. Don't overthink it. I'll be back first thing tomorrow morning. Okay. She sounded like she wanted to say more, but Horace called her name in the background. She rushed out her last line. Don't think too much about it. Once his stomach feels better, I'll be right back. Then she hung up. I stared at the phone and let out a quiet laugh. I had drunk more than usual tonight. My head was spinning, nausea rolling in my gut. I went to the bathroom and threw up several times. When I finally straightened up, my stomach still hurt. Only then did I remember. My own stomach wasn't great either. I'd drunk too fast and eaten too little. I found some stomach medicine, swallowed it with cold water because I couldn't wait for the kettle to boil, and lay down. That night I tossed and turned. By dawn I finally drifted off. Christiana didn't come home in the morning. She didn't come home at noon. It was afternoon when she finally walked in. I was cleaning the apartment. Dust had collected in corners from neglect. She walked over unusually and said, "Let me help you." I looked at her curiously. "It's fine. I'm almost done." Since we got together, I'd always done the housework. She never did. She dropped her hand, looking almost nervous. Horace's stomach's been bothering him again. He doesn't take care of himself, so he keeps getting sick. I stayed up with him last night to take care of him. I'm exhausted. I nodded quietly. That sounds really tough. She looked startled, probably expecting sarcasm. After a moment, she asked hesitantly, "Claude, I've been thinking, what if I go with you to your hometown?" I was surprised. In the past, whenever I suggested she come with me on holiday, she refused. Long train ride, plane motion sickness, unfamiliar food, language barrier. There was always an excuse. Before, I would have been thrilled. I would have started booking tickets already. Now I said indifferently, "No need. You have work. My trip isn't certain. Don't trouble yourself." Her smile froze. "Then I'll just wait for you at home." I didn't respond. Then she asked again, almost rushing now, "It's my best friend's birthday tonight. Why don't you come with me?" She never invited me to those gatherings. Her friends looked down on me. Every time they met, she brought Horace instead. I refused. "No. They won't be happy if I show up." A flicker of discomfort crossed her face. "Why not? You're my boyfriend. They won't mind." I looked at her quietly until she lowered her head, guilty. I remembered the time one of her friends mocked me for not measuring up to Horace, and I'd looked helplessly at Christiana, hoping she would defend me. She'd brushed it off. "You're not as good as Horace," she'd said coldly, "but since you're my boyfriend, you need to figure out how to handle my friends on your own. Don't expect me to do everything for you." But the truth was simple. Her friends treated me how she allowed them to. If she respected me, they wouldn't dare. I tied up the trash bag and headed for the door. I'm busy tonight. Ask Horace to go with you. She stared at me like she'd never imagined those words could come out of my mouth. She grabbed my arm, nervous. Where are you going tonight? Let me go with you. I've finished my handover, I explained. I don't need to go to the office tomorrow. I'm having dinner with a few colleagues I'm closer to, just to say goodbye. It'd be better if you go to your best friend's birthday party. She didn't insist on coming. Instead she asked, tentative, if you're not going, should I really call Horace? I smiled and nodded. Go ahead. She studied my face, searching for jealousy. Don't you feel even a little bit jealous? She finally blurted. I found it strange. Wasn't she the one who hated my jealousy? Hadn't she demanded this freedom? What's there to be jealous about? I said. You've said before that you two are like siblings. Besides, he's closer to your best friend, so it's only natural you'd go with him, right? She opened her mouth as if to argue, then closed it. Before leaving, she reminded me, come back early, and if you're drinking, call me. I'll come pick you up. I thought about it. I would be drinking. It would save me a taxi. Okay, I said. After dinner, I called her. Music blasted on her end. People were laughing and shouting. I'm done here, I said. Is your party still going on? Maybe I should just take a taxi home. No, she cut in quickly. I said I'd pick you up. Wait a bit. I'll tell them I'm leaving. Then I heard someone shout in the background. Christiana! Hurry up and take Horace home. He's drunk, lying on the floor, won't let anyone touch him. He keeps shouting for you. Hurry up! Christiana hesitated. Claude, do you mind waiting a bit longer? I'll take Horace home first. I forced myself to smile even though she couldn't see it. It's fine. Go ahead and take him home. I'll just take a taxi myself. Claude, don't worry, she rushed. Once I drop him off, I'll come straight back. There's nothing going on. I know. You go ahead. I'll get a taxi. I hung up, called a car, and went home alone. After washing up, I lay in bed. My phone rang again. Christiana. I picked up, but before I could speak, I heard Horace whining through the receiver. Christiana, don't leave. My stomach hurts. Can you rub it for me? Christiana sounded helpless. Horace, stop messing around. I have to go back. Claude is still waiting for me at home. Let him wait. It's not like he's never waited before. Horace's voice went lazy and smug. Christiana, my stomach really hurts. Can you bear to let me suffer like this? She sighed. I really can't deal with you. Is it here? Does this feel better? Yes. Right there. It's getting better, but can you rub it a bit longer? I listened without expression. Then I hung up. It was probably a misdial, I told myself, watching the screen go dark. Or maybe it wasn't. Either way, I didn't care anymore. I watched a few videos and fell asleep. Christiana didn't come back that night. It was almost noon the next day when she finally returned. She kicked off her shoes and explained too smoothly, like she'd practiced in her head. After I took Horace home last night, his stomach problems flared up again. I took care of him until late, so I didn't come back. I ended up sleeping on his sofa for the night. I said, uninterested, still scrolling my phone. She stepped closer, tried to take my hand. I pulled away. Something in her snapped. Claude, I really can't stand your indifferent attitude anymore. Can we sit down and talk about this? Isn't this fine? I asked honestly. I didn't interfere with her life. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't controlling. Wasn't that what she'd wanted? She seemed to find the answer herself. Is this because of Horace? I didn't respond. She clenched her teeth. If you don't like me being in touch with him, I'll cut ties with him. Just please can you stop acting like this? Her eyes were pleading, full of hope. For years, I'd wanted her to say this. I'd argued, suffered, swallowed humiliation for it. Now that it was finally offered, my heart was still as water. No need, I said. It's your right to be friends with anyone. I have no right to interfere. She panicked harder. Claude, do you not believe I'll really cut ties with Horace? I'll call him right now. She dialed, put it on speaker. Horace picked up almost immediately. Christiana, are you home? Already missing me after just getting back. Christiana's eyes shot to me in panic. She raised her voice, forcing steel into it. Horace, stop talking nonsense. I called to tell you that we shouldn't stay in contact anymore. My boyfriend doesn't like it. Horace shouted, disbelief cracking open. Christiana, what do you mean? How can you do this to me for that petty Claude? She snapped back, louder now, as if volume could make her words true. He's my boyfriend and you're not allowed to say that about him. We won't be in touch anymore. That's it. She hung up. Horace called back again and again. She let it ring, refusing to answer. Then she turned to me, desperate to show me proof. Claude, look. I really have cut ties with Horace. Don't be mad anymore. Let's be good from now on, okay? I stared at her. I hadn't expected her to be so decisive. I'd planned to bring up the breakup when I left for home. Now it had to happen earlier. Christiana, I said slowly, you don't need to do this. I think it's better if we... Before I could finish, she rushed forward and covered my mouth with her hand. Her lips trembled. Tears slid down her cheeks, one after another. In the past, those tears would have broken me. I would have wiped them frantically, apologized even when I was the one bleeding inside, promised to be better, promised not to ruin her friendships. But now my hand stayed still. I just watched her. Claude, she sobbed, let's go back to my hometown together. She hugged my waist tightly, pressed her face to my chest. The fabric grew wet with her tears. I thought my heart had turned to stone. But it still ached, deeply, unbearably. Slowly, I raised my hand and pushed her away. I'm sorry, Christiana, I said, each word heavy. But we should break up. She clung to me again, shaking her head. No. Claude, I don't want to break up. I don't want to be apart from you. I gave a bitter smile. You should be happy. There won't be anyone bothering you anymore, preventing you from being free. She cried harder, pleading. No. I was wrong. Claude, let's not break up, okay? I won't say you're controlling me anymore and I won't contact Horace again. Please give me another chance. Please. I hardened my heart with the last strength I had. Christiana, don't say that. We are from two different worlds. Now we're just returning to our own worlds. I'm really tired of these years. I pried her hands off me, went into my room, and closed the door. She sobbed outside. I didn't go out again. The next day, I dragged my suitcase to the door. Christiana was asleep on the sofa, cheeks streaked with dried tears. She looked smaller than I remembered, like she'd been bruised by the night. I picked up a thin blanket and covered her gently. In my head, I whispered, goodbye. At the train station, my phone rang. Christiana. Her voice was frantic, breathing uneven. Claude, where did you go? Why are your things missing? I didn't want to answer. But in the end I softened. She was once the person I loved the most. Christiana, I said, voice catching, I'm leaving. I wish you all the best from now on. She cried, almost screaming. Claude, how can I be okay if you leave? Where are you going? Don't leave. Wait for me to come with you. Take care, I said, and hung up. She called again and again. Messages poured in. Are you at the train station? I'm coming over now. Wait for me. I've arrived. Where are you? I didn't reply. I dragged my suitcase forward, joined the boarding line. As I stepped through the entrance, I heard a piercing cry from behind the crowd. Claude. I froze for one heartbeat. Then I kept walking. A few days later, I was at the supermarket near my house, checking goods, helping my father the way I should have years ago. Behind me, a trembling voice filled with sobs said my name. Claude. I stopped and turned. It was Christiana. She'd lost weight. Her face was haggard, eyes swollen like she hadn't slept. You weren't just coming back for a few months, right? She asked quietly. I nodded. Yes. I'm not coming back. Her eyes burned red. Why did you lie to me? I smiled bitterly. You've lied to me countless times. I'm only lying to you this one time. Over the years, she'd lied for Horace more times than I could count. Back then those lies had cut me open. Now, I wondered if she finally felt even a fragment of what I had. She cried again. Claude, can I move here and be with you? I closed my eyes for a second, then opened them. My voice came out firm as iron. When disappointment accumulates enough, it turns into despair. We can't go back, Christiana. Let's part on good terms. She stood there, shaking. For a long moment, she looked like she wanted to say something else, something that might have changed the ending if it had come years earlier. But nothing came. I watched her lonely, desolate figure fade away down the supermarket aisle, then out the door, then into the noise of the street. Just like the memories in my mind, fading, thinning, disappearing. From now on, she and I would continue on in our own worlds, never again part of each other's lives. Christiana stood there like someone who'd missed the last train and was still staring at the tracks, hoping the sound she heard in her head would turn real. Her shoulders were trembling, but she didn't try to grab me this time. Maybe she finally understood that grip wasn't love and holding on wasn't the same as being chosen. I watched her walk away through the glass doors, her reflection blurring in the sunlight. She didn't look back. I didn't call out. For a while I just stood there with the basket in my hand, the smell of detergent and oranges floating around me as if nothing in the world had changed. People passed by, carts rolling, kids whining for snacks, old couples arguing softly over brands of soy sauce. Life was rude that way. It didn't pause for heartbreak. It didn't care about the kind of goodbye that rearranged your bones. It moved on, dragging you with it whether you were ready or not. Claude. My dad's voice snapped me out of it. He had come looking for me with a small list folded in his pocket, his expression already impatient the way it always was when he tried to hide worry. You disappeared. What happened? Nothing, I said too quickly. He frowned, studying my face, and then his eyes softened. You look tired. Let's finish this and go home. We paid, loaded the bags into the scooter basket, and rode back along the coastal road. Salt wind pushed against my neck. The sea on the left looked like it had slept well all its life, calm, blue, endless. I used to sit on the rocks here as a teenager, earphones in, feeling like the whole world was too small for me. Now it felt wide enough to breathe inside. The grocery store was cramped, familiar, welcoming in the way a childhood bedroom can be when you return after too long. Shelves lined with snacks, rice sacks stacked like small walls, a little counter with old receipts and my mother's handwriting taped beside the register. My mother was sorting fruit behind the counter. When she saw us, her face lit up the way it had on the video call. You're back, she said happily, like I'd only been gone a weekend. I made fish porridge. Go eat before it cools. That word, cools, made something twist faintly in my chest. I swallowed it down. At dinner my father ate slowly, chewing like it cost him something. His hair looked grayer than I remembered. When he reached for a bowl, his hand trembled just a little. I pretended not to see it. Parents don't like being watched for weakness. My mother kept filling my bowl, asking about the city I'd left, the job, the people. What about Christiana? She asked softly after a pause, careful like someone stepping over thin ice. Will she come here later? I put my chopsticks down. No, I said. We broke up. My mother's face slipped into shock, then into something close to grief. Claude. It's okay, Mom. I tried to smile. It was long overdue. My father didn't say anything for a moment. Then he nodded once, slow and firm. Good. My mother glanced at him, surprised. He went on, voice blunt like always. You weren't happy there. We could hear it every time you called. You thought you hid it, but you didn't. A man shouldn't live like someone else's spare part. I blinked. I hadn't expected that. I'd always thought they didn't know how bad it was, didn't know how much of myself I'd poured into a woman who kept letting it spill on the floor. My throat tightened. I'm sorry, I said suddenly, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I left you two alone for so long. My mother reached over and patted my hand. You're here now, she said. That's all. After dinner, I washed dishes while my parents watched TV in the living room. The sound of their voices in the background felt like a blanket. Simple, warm, real. When I went to my old room, I found it exactly as I remembered. Faded posters, a desk with scratches I'd made as a kid, old textbooks in a stack that smelled like time. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The silence was different here. In the city, silence was sharp. It meant waiting. It meant checking your phone and hearing nothing back. It meant sitting at a table watching food grow cold. Here, silence meant rest. And still, sleep didn't come fast. My phone was face down on the bed. I hadn't blocked Christiana. I hadn't deleted her. I didn't want her back, but I also didn't want to pretend we never existed. It felt dishonest to erase years like they were a typo. But around midnight, I flipped the phone over and saw 2 missed calls, then a string of messages. Christiana. I'm in your city. Claude, please talk to me. I'm sorry. I know you don't want to see me, but I need to say something. I'm waiting outside your store. My heart went still. I checked the timestamp. 10 minutes ago. My parents were asleep. The street outside was dark, quiet except for a distant dog barking. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want to explain this to my mother tomorrow with swollen eyes and a forced smile. I didn't want to hear Christiana cry in my hometown, in front of my father's store, like a storm following me across provinces. I got up, put on a jacket, and walked out. The air smelled like seaweed and wet pavement. The streetlights were yellow and tired. The store's metal shutter was down. Across the road, under the pharmacy sign, Christiana stood alone. Her hair was tied back messily. She was wearing the same white sneakers I'd bought her last summer. She looked smaller in the dark, like someone who'd walked too far on a road that kept stretching. When she saw me, her breath hitched. For a moment neither of us spoke. Her eyes traveled over me like she was trying to memorize me before I disappeared again. You came, she whispered, voice breaking. I didn't move closer. You shouldn't be here, I said quietly. It's late. Go rest. I couldn't. She took a step forward, then stopped like she was afraid I'd vanish if she came too close. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think of anything else. I needed to see you. Christiana, I said gently, you already did. Her lips trembled. I know. I know what you said at the supermarket. She wiped her eyes quickly, angry at herself for crying. But I didn't understand. Not until you left. Not until I went home and everything was empty. She took a breath, the kind people take before admitting a sin. When you hung up on me that night and didn't fight, I thought you were being childish, she said. I thought if I stayed firm you'd come back like you always did. I didn't realize. You were actually leaving me. I didn't answer. She flinched like my silence was a slap. I thought you'd always be there, she said, voice softer now. No matter what. Even when I was wrong. Even when I hurt you. You were steady like a wall that doesn't move. I let out a slow exhale. That's not love, Christiana. That's convenience. She closed her eyes, tears spilling again. I know, she whispered. Now I do. The wind lifted her hair across her cheek. She didn't brush it away. She looked exhausted in the way people look after the truth finally knocks them down. What happened after you left? I asked, not because I cared about details, but because I wanted her to say it out loud, to face it. She laughed once, bitter and ugly. Horace didn't even pretend anymore, she said. The second you left, he acted like I belonged to him by default. He'd show up at my apartment with flowers. He'd post pictures every day, making it look like we were together. My friends cheered him on like it was a movie ending. She swallowed. But I couldn't breathe. I didn't react. I just listened. He kept saying, Claude's gone. You don't need to act anymore. Her voice turned sharp. Like I was acting to begin with. She shook her head. I got angry. I told him to stop. I told him I needed space. He got furious and said I was ungrateful, that he waited all these years, that you stole me from him. Her mouth twisted. And for the first time, it hit me. What? That he never saw me as a friend. Her eyes lifted to mine. He saw me as a prize. Something to win. He wasn't grieving his mother or lonely or sick half the time. He was using you as an excuse and using me as proof of his importance. She wiped her face again. I don't know why it took me so long to see it. Maybe because everyone around me kept telling me it was normal. That I was lucky to have a friend like him. That you were the one being difficult. She looked down. And maybe because you kept taking the blame, so I never had to. The air between us was quiet. A moth batted itself against the street lamp above our heads. I cut him off for real, she said quickly, like she needed me to believe it. He came to my place drunk and started yelling. I told him to leave. He wouldn't. I called security. He shouted my name like I was his property. The neighbors came out. It was ugly. She laughed a little, helplessly. I felt embarrassed. Not of him. Of myself. Of what I let happen. Of what I let you carry for me. I nodded slowly. I'm not here to beg you to take me back, she said suddenly, rushing. I know I don't deserve it. I needed you to know I finally understand. I finally see what I did to you. Her voice quivered. I made your love feel like a chore. I didn't answer for a long second. My insides felt strange. Not warm, not angry, just hollowed clean. You did, I said softly. And I let you. She looked up sharply, startled. I didn't leave because you liked Horace's posts, I continued, steady now. I left because I was disappearing in my own life. I didn't recognize myself anymore. I started measuring my worth by whether you were pleased with me that day, whether you smiled at me, whether you chose me over him for once. I swallowed. That's not a relationship. That's a drought. She nodded, tears falling silently. I know. We stood like that, two people finally truthful too late. She took a careful breath. Do you hate me? I looked at her. Hate would have meant I still had something to give her. No, I said. I don't hate you. I'm just done. The confirmation seemed to break something in her. Her shoulders caved. I miss you, she whispered. I know. Do you ever miss me? I thought about it honestly. There are parts of you I miss, I said. The you from the beginning. The girl who laughed at stupid jokes, who held my hand like she was proud to. The girl who used to call me just to hear my voice. She let out a shaky breath, like those words were both comfort and punishment. But I don't miss who we became, I added. And I don't want to go back to the person I was with you. She nodded again, smaller and smaller. I didn't come to fight, she said. I needed to say goodbye properly. I needed to apologize to your face. I held her gaze. Thank you for that. Her lips trembled into a faint, sad smile. Can I see your parents? Just to say sorry? I won't stay long. I shook my head. It's better not to. She accepted it without arguing. That alone told me she was different now. Okay, she whispered. For a moment she looked like she wanted to step forward, to hug me, to touch my sleeve, to do something familiar. But she didn't. She just said, take care of them. And take care of yourself. You too. She turned away. She walked slowly at first, then faster, like if she didn't leave quickly she would collapse. I watched her until she vanished around the corner. When I went back inside, the store was still dark, the town still asleep. My parents' breathing was soft from their bedroom. I returned to my room and lay down. This time sleep came fast, deep, like my body had been waiting for the last knot to untie. The weeks that followed were simple in a way my old life never was. I woke early, helped my father open the store, stocked shelves, carried boxes. I learned the little rhythms he'd built to compensate for his fading strength, how he leaned his hip against the counter when he felt dizzy, how he used the back wall to steady himself when he climbed the small step ladder. At first he tried to hide it. Go inside, he'd say gruffly. I can do it. but I'd just take the box from his hands. "I'm here," I'd say. "Let me." My mother started smiling more. She hummed while chopping vegetables. She began telling neighbors proudly that I was back. Old aunties in flip-flops came by to pinch my cheeks and say too loudly that I'd grown handsome and should find a wife soon. I laughed politely and didn't answer. Some nights, when the store closed and the streets cooled, I walked along the beach alone. The sea made a steady sound against the rocks, like someone breathing in their sleep. I'd sit and think about nothing. It felt like learning to exist again. Lucas called once a week at first, then twice. "You're really not coming back?" he'd ask. "No." He'd sigh dramatically and say, "You owe me drinks. Come here, I'll treat you." One evening he actually did. He arrived with a suitcase and a grin like he'd been starving for fresh air. "Damn," he said, looking at the ocean. "I forgot places like this existed." We drank at a small seaside stall, ate grilled squid, and talked until late. Lucas was still Lucas, loud, blunt, loyal. "At least you're not dying inside anymore," he said at one point, waving a skewer toward me. "When you were there, you were always smiling, but your eyes looked dead." I didn't argue. He took a sip of beer. "Christiana called me," he said casually. My hand paused. "What did she say?" "She asked where you live." I told her I don't know. He looked at me. "She sounded messed up." I shrugged. "She came," I said simply. Lucas's eyebrows lifted. And we said goodbye." He nodded slowly, approving. "Good. That's the right ending." He looked out at the waves. "People like her, they don't change when you beg. They change when the consequences finally hit." I didn't respond. But somewhere in me, a part that had once needed validation unclenched. After Lucas left, I felt lighter, like a door had closed on a room that was choking me. A month later, my father had a bad dizzy spell while unloading stock. He sat down hard on a crate, pale, sweating. I rushed to him, heart lurching. "Dad." He waved me off stubbornly, but his hand shook. My mother appeared, her face draining. "I told you to rest," she scolded, voice trembling under the anger. "I told you to let Claude do it." "I'm fine," he grunted, but the lie was thin. We took him to the clinic. The doctor frowned at his numbers, asked sharp questions about how long this had been going on. My father kept saying he was fine, kept trying to wave it away. My mother started crying halfway through the appointment. In the end, the doctor scheduled more tests and told him he needed to reduce workload immediately. On the way home, my father was quiet. At dinner, he barely ate. I waited until my mother cleaned up and went to shower, then sat beside him on the porch. "You should have told me earlier," I said. He didn't look at me. "I didn't want to worry you. I'm your son. Worrying me is part of your job." He snorted faintly, almost laughing. For a minute we just listened to the neighborhood sounds, TV noise through open windows, scooters passing, distant waves. Then he said, quietly, "When you were gone, your mom got sick twice. Not serious. But she didn't tell you because she didn't want you to feel guilty." He stared at the dark street. "And I had a few nights like this already. Dizzy. Chest tight. I told myself it would pass." My jaw clenched. "Why didn't you call me?" He finally looked over. "You were building your life." I laughed softly, bitterly. I was losing it. His face softened. He put a rough hand on my shoulder. "You're back now. That's enough." That night I sat in my room staring at my old desk, suddenly furious at time. Furious at myself. Furious at how easily I'd been convinced that love meant sacrificing everyone else, including me. I took out my phone and opened a blank note. I started listing what needed to change. Hire part-time help for the store. Shift heavy deliveries to mornings when I'm there. Get Dad on regular checkups. Take Mom somewhere nice once a week. Fix the leaking upstairs window. Stop postponing life. I wasn't running anymore. Spring slid into summer with the slow confidence of the sea. One afternoon, a woman came into the store asking about a certain brand of herbal tea. I didn't recognize her at first because she had a mask on and sunglasses pushed onto her head. She lowered the mask slightly to speak. It was Lien. I knew her from high school. She'd sat 2 rows behind me in class, always doodling in the margins of her notebooks, always smiling like she knew a joke the world hadn't heard yet. We hadn't talked in years, not really. At most a Happy New Year message once on WeChat and then silence. "Claude," she said, squinting as if checking I was real. "You're back." "Yeah." I smiled. "When did you return?" "Last year. I'm working at the community clinic now." She glanced around. "Your parents okay?" "Better now that I'm here." Her eyebrows softened. "That's good." She bought the tea, but lingered by the counter like she wanted to say more. "Hey," she said finally, "I heard from Auntie Chen that you, came back alone." I nodded. She hesitated. "I'm sorry. I don't know the details. But I'm glad you're home." There was something about the way she said it that wasn't pity. It was just sincere. "Thanks," I said. She nodded once and left. I watched her walk out into the sun, and something in me shifted. Not romance, not longing, just a small awareness that life still held new people, old people, unexpected corners. That night, my mother mentioned casually, "Lien came by earlier. Such a good girl. Works hard." Her mom said she rarely even takes weekends. I hummed, pretending not to notice my mother's tone. "She asked about you," my mother added lightly. "People in town are happy you're back. You were always a polite boy." I nearly choked on my soup. "Mom." "What?" "Nothing." I shook my head, laughing. "Just stop that look." She grinned and went back to eating. I felt warmth in my chest. Not the sharp, fevered warmth I'd chased in the city. Something calmer. A few days later, I ran into Lien again on the beach road. She had her hair tied up, clinic badge hanging from her neck, a bag of groceries in one hand. We fell into step without thinking. "Busy day?" I asked. "Always." She sighed. "Old people here don't know when to rest. They come in after lifting 30 kilos and say, 'It's fine, I just got a little dizzy.'" I laughed because the description was painfully familiar. She glanced at me. "How's your dad?" I told her about the clinic visit, his dizziness, my plans to ease his workload. She listened quietly, nodding. "You're doing the right thing," she said. "You'd be surprised how much people heal just from not feeling alone." Her words landed somewhere deep. We walked a while longer, the sky shifting pink. "Do you miss the city?" she asked. I thought honestly. "No. Not even a little. Not even a little." She smiled, satisfied. "Good." We reached the split in the road where she turned toward her neighborhood. She paused, then said, "Some people from class are meeting this weekend. Just a small thing. If you want to come, you should." I blinked. "Really? I haven't talked to anyone in years." "That's exactly why you should come," she said, like it was obvious. "Your life doesn't have to shrink just because you're home." I nodded slowly. "Okay. I'll come." She waved and left. I walked the rest of the way feeling strangely nervous. Not because of her. Because I was realizing I could start over. The gathering was at a small seafood restaurant near the harbor. The kind where the owner knows everyone's parents and complains loudly if you don't eat enough. There were maybe 7 of us. Some I recognized immediately. Some I had to search my memory for. We laughed at how different we looked, how old we felt, how fast time moved when you weren't staring at it. They asked about my old job. I said I'd quit to come back home. They asked why. I shrugged and said, "Life." No one pushed. It was a gentle kind of night. Lien sat across from me, more talkative than I remembered, telling stories about patients who yelled at her for prescribing rest. At some point she caught me looking at her and raised an eyebrow. "What?" "Nothing," I said, smiling. "You're the same." She snorted. "Liar. I was more annoying in high school." I laughed. "Maybe. But in a good way." Her ears reddened faintly. She looked away, pretending to be annoyed. Later, walking home under the streetlights, one of the guys nudged me. "You and Lien, I blinked. What? He grinned. You can't fool us. She likes you. I felt my face heat. That's ridiculous. We just reconnected. Sure. He laughed. Just don't be an idiot. If she was in the city, guys would line up. I didn't answer. But the thought followed me home like a quiet dog. Not excitement. Just possibility. A week after that, a package arrived at the store. No return address. Inside was the red string bracelet Christiana had given me, neatly wrapped, the metal charm cleaned like she'd tried to make it look dignified. There was a note folded beneath it. Claude, I know you said you're done, and I won't bother you anymore. I just wanted to return this. It doesn't belong to me, and it doesn't belong in your pocket either. I'm sorry for all the years I treated your love like something I could waste. You don't have to forgive me. I just hope one day, when you remember me, it won't hurt. Take care. Christiana. I read it twice. Then I put the bracelet back in the box, closed it, and sat for a long time. My mother came over quietly and looked at me. Is everything all right? Yeah, I said. Just something from the past. She nodded like she understood without needing details. Sometimes mothers do. That night, I walked down to the beach with the box. The tide was low, rocks exposed like old bones. The wind was chilly, sharp against my ears. I opened the box, took the red string out, and held it in my palm. For a second an image flashed in my mind. Christiana pressing it into my hand, her voice impatient but trying to sound sweet, her eyes already elsewhere. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sadness. Just a quiet recognition that this thing was never love, never meaning. It was a token I'd once been grateful for because I was hungry for crumbs. I wrapped the bracelet around my fingers once, then let it fall into the water. It sank without a sound. The sea swallowed it like it swallowed everything else. I watched until I couldn't see it anymore. Then I turned and walked home. Summer deepened. My father's health stabilized. We hired a young part-timer who handled deliveries and heavy lifting. My mother started sleeping better. Her laughter came back in full, not the thin, tired version she'd worn on video calls. I started running in the mornings again. The air in my lungs felt clean. Sometimes I still thought about the city, like a dream you remember right after waking. The apartment. The cold food. The notifications. The way my heart used to jolt every time the door opened. But the thoughts didn't have teeth anymore. One afternoon, Lien stopped by the store and handed me 2 tickets. Clinic fundraiser. There's a little music night at the community hall, she said. You should come. Bring your parents if you want. How much? Free. She smirked. Don't insult me. I laughed. Okay. Thanks. She hesitated. If you don't want to go alone, she added quickly, I can pick you up. I looked at her, amused. Are you inviting me? She stared back, then sighed dramatically. Yes, I am. Is that illegal? I laughed harder. No. It's nice. She looked relieved, then tried to hide it by rolling her eyes. Good. Don't be late. That night I went with my parents. Lien was there in a simple dress, hair down, looking different in a way that made me pause. My mother leaned toward me and whispered, She's pretty. Mom. What? She whispered louder, shameless. She is. I couldn't stop smiling. The music night was small, local singers, kids dancing, old people clapping off beat. It was messy, sweet, human. Lien sat beside me, shoulder brushing mine sometimes. She laughed easily. When the host told a terrible joke, she groaned and covered her face. I realized I was watching her more than the stage. Not because I was falling helplessly like I once had with Christiana. Because being near Lien didn't make me smaller. It didn't make me arrange my life around fear. It felt steady. After the event, my parents went home early. Lien and I walked along the harbor. The moon was fat and bright, turning the water silver. She shoved her hands into her pockets. Your mom's funny, she said. She's worse when she likes you. She blinked. She likes me. I glanced at her, then decided there was no point pretending. Yeah. Her cheeks warmed. She's nice, Lien said softly. I'm glad your family is doing better. Me too. We walked a bit. Then she said, very quietly, Claude, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you scared of trying again? She asked. Not with me, just in general. After whatever happened. The question was so careful it made my chest ache. I thought about it honestly. A little, I admitted. But I'm more scared of disappearing again. She nodded slowly. That's a good answer. I looked at her, unsure what to say. She added, almost shy, if you ever want to talk about it, you can. I smiled at the ocean. I know. We reached the end of the pier. The wind was strong there. She shivered. Without thinking, I took off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up at me, surprised, then softened into a small smile. Still a caretaker, huh? She teased. Only for people who don't treat it like a chore. The words escaped my mouth before I could censor them. She went quiet, not offended, just thoughtful. Then she said, I won't. I looked at her. Good, I said. We stood there a long time, the sea below us moving in slow breaths. Nothing dramatic happened. No confession. No kiss. No movie scene. Just two people standing in air that smelled like salt and night, letting something new grow at its own pace. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to choose me. I felt like I was choosing my own life.